How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com, and today I wanted to talk about just the problems of quitting drinking, and to know that old problems are always going to be replaced by new problems, right? Regardless of what part of life you're sort of involved in. I guess it all depends as well what type of problems you're talking about, how you look at problems, how you view them. It's called progress, this is just, what some problems you want to have and other problems you don't want to have. Alcohol drinking is a problem that you don't really want to have in your life, right? Because it's causing so much destruction. It gives you a little bit of pleasure in the short-term gratification, but in the long term, it doesn't do anything for you. It kills you slowly. It affects your relationship, it affects your health, it affects your wealth, it affects your spiritualization, your socialization, all these kind of areas. I don't think there's one area in your life where it doesn't affect, one area of your body that it doesn't affect, right? So I'm just saying that when I stopped drinking, right, it was because I had come to a big crux in my life, right? I had come to a crossroads where I knew that things had to change, I had to change. I had no choice but to sort of get things into perspective and start thinking about what I was doing to myself, what I was doing to the other people in my life, particularly my son, and how I was affecting or infecting his mind, right, and his decisions and his view of life, what he thought of as being normal. And I had to change. I did change. But that one problem that I solved by quitting drinking, or many problems that I solved through quitting drinking, left me with a new set of problems, right? So I was no longer toxifying my body with this stuff. I was no longer toxifying my life with this stuff. But I had these new problems of what do I do now in my social life? Because I don't drink anymore. What do I do now? How do I go out and enjoy myself? How do I sleep at nights? How do I get to sleep at nights? How do I relax at the end of a working day? What do I look forward to? All of these were new problems that I had that had to be solved, right? So that's what I'm saying to you about, your old problems. Once you deal with those old problems, you're always going to have new problems to deal with, right? It's not going to be a plain sailing, straightforward, downhill battle from now on, right? It's not going to be a downhill battle, a downhill road, I should say. From now on, it's not going to be an easy ride, It's tough to make these new decisions and to deal with these new problems, but they're not the big problem that you had before. The big problem is a downward slide. It's something that you don't want in your life. It's something that was never going to give you anything in the long term. It was always going to take from your life. So you can't worry about this thing. You can only really deal with what you're going to deal with in the moment, right? You can only sort of look at things from this perspective, from where you are now, and think to yourself, well, what's happening in my life now? What can I do in my life now with the issues that I've got? So you stop drinking, right? And that one thing has alleviated many different fears and anxieties, and it's dealt with a lot of different problems in your life, right? But as I say, you're now faced with the task of moving forwards, and let's take one instance of this in going out and socializing, being with your friends, right? And you have to sit down and ask yourself a lot of different questions, about the places that you're going, about the people that you're with, about how you like to socialize. And I know it's very difficult to sort of try and change the whole thing, but sometimes that's what you need to do, right? I stopped going to pubs. I love going to restaurants and stuff. And after a few years, this is easy. It's not. It becomes second nature to you. It's like As I talked about before, there's a certain habit gravity where it takes a long time to get over the hump, right? To get something out of your life, because the habit is continuously trying to drag you back into your old behavior, into the old places that you like to drink or you like to go, into the old people that you're with, because these all provide a certain amount of comfort, right? Comfort in the sense that it's all very normal. You're used to doing this and you don't have to think about it. You just go along, this is what you do. When you change, you have to change a lot of different things about this. You have to change a lot of different things about your life and the way you think about it. You have to do a lot of thinking, right? And it's the thinking that brings the discomfort. But the initial thinking at the beginning is all very well worth it, because it's that initial thinking that's going to pull you into a different direction, right? And it's that different direction that's going to, at the end of the day, mean the difference between you going back to your old habits and not going back to your old habits. If you continue to go with what your old lifestyle has there, brought you, if you continue to try and go to the pub, continue to try and mix with the heavy drinkers in your life especially, and to do those things that you associate with alcohol drinking, then not only is it going to be very difficult for you, time after time it's not going to get easier, right? In most cases it's going to lead to a relapse, because you're not getting that one essential thing for you being there. I mean, there's only one reason to be in the pub, and that's to drink. There's only one reason for being with your drinking buddies, and that's to drink, right? To interact with them on that level. Now, if they're getting themselves on that level, right, everyone else in the pub is getting themselves onto that level of drunkenness, and you're not, then what's going to happen? There's only one thing that's going to happen, and that's you're continuously feeling like you're missing out on something. And there's only one solution to that, and that's to start drinking again. If you're going to continue to go to these places and mix with these people, right? So I'm just saying that these are problems that you have to deal with in your own life, right? These are problems that are going to come up. You leave one problem behind and the next problem is going to come along. But the problems that you have now are your choice, right? These are your personal decisions that you have to make. But it's your choice which direction you want to go, right? So there are a lot lesser problems. As long as you've not putting the alcohol into your body, you're relieving yourself of all these long-term consequences of your drinking, right? You're relieving yourself of a lot of misery, a lot of suffering in your life, and that can only be a good thing, right? So if you have any questions at all, any comments, leave them down below. Come on over to the website and sign up for the newsletter. There's a few bonuses there for signing up, but at the end of the day you'll get an email every single day to remind you of your new alcohol journey. Until next time, stay safe, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, face into your new life and your new problems with enthusiasm and knowledge that they're not going to be anywhere near as bad as the problems that you're leaving behind. As long as you look forward in a positive way, you look forward and you try to learn something about yourself and your life and push yourself in a positive direction, then I guarantee you, life is much, much better. I'm never going to go back to where I was just because purely of making that decision to stop and refusing to, whatever happened in my life, to go back and lead that old life again. And my life has just grown exponentially. I feel a completely different person. It feels like a dream or a nightmare, whichever way you want to put it. So I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take care, onwards and upwards.